So I was thinking, Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, are going to the desert. The whole ordeal of going to the desert. I was thinking it's a little cruel. You're gonna schlep those people for 40 years in the desert. Yes, okay, so they spoke a little bit and they sinned a little bit, but what do you want from the people? Really? What do you want from them? I mean, look at us. I think Ribono Shel Olam should send Mashiach like this. Salvation should come like this. Lama? I'll tell you Lama. I mean, you say that, we are responsible for our actions and so on and so on, but we act like fools. And the shoteh, a fool, is not really responsible. You can't judge him. He's a fool. We are so confused. We don't know anymore left from right from left. So I mean, according to that, I do believe Kadosh Baruch Hu should send Mashiach like 2 seconds, and don't hold us responsible for our mistakes, because they're really I don't know, we lost that. And also, even so, for the generation of the desert. I mean, what do you want from these people? They don't know any better. Life as a free man did not come with a handbook. What do you want? Come to the land. And that's it. And it was okay. We know what the Torah says. We know what everybody says. They sin. You're 40 days, 40 years. God does not work like that. Does not work like that. And I was thinking about, maybe I can learn from a different source. Maybe I could take a different example, because after all, we always heard the same stories over and over again. Maybe if I look somewhere else, I could actually understand why it was actually a good thing, and it had to happen, that they will go for 40 years in the desert. So I can tell you the 40 years has to do with them. But they had to be in the desert. And they had to go through a journey in the desert. And it was a good thing, and it was a necessary thing for their success. So now, since you guys have so much spiritual power, what exactly do you think that I was thinking about to learn it from? Any ideas?
Why that for 40 years?
No. What outside source could I use as an example to learn, to reflect on Bnei Israel? No idea, huh? I gotta tell you. The expansion west of the American frontier. It's a good one, huh? I'm going to tell you why. If you know a little bit about American history, which I'm sure you don't, because in school they did not give you American, they would teach you about Greek history, but your own history they would not teach you. And whatever they would teach you is probably crooked, because it's politically tinted. When people came to America, everybody that came to America, from the very beginning, and by the way, my son wasn't, and God bless my son, he told me, I wanted to go to his siyum. He's doing siyum today. He told me, no, don't come to my siyum. Don't be mevatel zikui arabim for my siyum. And now that's a big yeshakoch to him. So, and he told me, he said, he went to England for a wedding of one of his friends. And he said, let me tell you, Abba, I understand why the people, the pilgrims escaped from England. What a miserable place. Everybody that came to America came with a hope. And people came from all over the place. From all over. Came from Europe and from Asia, and they came from Africa, and they came, but everybody came for hope. But you know what happens is you come from your own place. So let's say you come with a bunch of immigrants. Let's say you came from Germany, or you came from, Sweden, or whatever it is. You come as a group of people, you go on the boats or whatever it is that you go to, you're coming here, and the hierarchy stays the same. If I am, if I was a chieftain in, I don't know where, in Ireland, so therefore I'll hold the position, or in Italy, or so on and so forth. And that's the same problems that they had in the old world, they would bring into the new world, and it will be same old, just like a bigger chaos, because everybody brings their problems in. And then something miraculously happened. They started to go west. Now, if you know anything about the trip west, was a horrible trip. It was terrible. I mean, they came from all over the country. There were ports the people came into. There were ports from New York. People came into New York. People came in from Boston. They will go towards Chicago. From there, they will go to the plains, and then they will go through Omaha, Nebraska. They will go this way. They made the Oregon Trail. Now, everybody wanted to go west. They came from Galveston in Texas, and they went. And by the way, there was a point in history there were a lot of Jews in Texas, but everybody was going west. Now that trip was hard, was harsh. They came in with wagons. They didn't have Forerunners and GX 470, with the suspension and a roof tent and stuff. That was a harsh trip. They went with the oxen on the wagons. Things broke. They had to get rid of things. I mean, it was a horrific thing. People drowned. You know how many people drowned crossing those rivers? I mean, listen, in America we got some major rivers. Imagine to cross the Mississippi. Imagine to cross the Missouri River, or to cross the Brazos into the Powder, into going all the way to Montana, going all the way towards Oregon. I mean, it's like crazy places. Deserts, storms, heat, diseases, Indians, you name it. But the most important thing is it was a long journey. And that long journey allowed them to rearrange themselves into different structure. People who were not leaders became leaders. People who were not important became important. People who were important were not. I remember years ago I spoke to Rabbi Ben Chaim about the Mashadi community from Iran. And he said to me a phenomenon that most of the people who were not most, but a lot of the people who were very wealthy in Iran came to America and were not so wealthy anymore. And those who were not wealthy came to America and became rich. So when you go to the desert for a long time, you break away old societal structures. You get rid of all your habits from the old world. You form new and effective hierarchy, because apparently it wasn't good, because otherwise you would have stayed there. You make it more efficient. You're joining in a matter of a vision and a dream until you reach your promised land. To the people who was reaching, the West Coast, whether it was California, Oregon, Washington, later on Alaska, places like that. So the expansion to the West, or expansion of the West, going, basically allowed America to be great. Not again, it was great. And it was great because it always evolved and became better and more efficient, and we got rid of all the diseases, the societal diseases we had in the old world. America started a certain decline when there was no more to expand. We started to settle down. We start developing hierarchies. We start develop ruling elites. I mean, good luck going. I want to see any of you getting voted for Congress or for Senate. You're not a part of the elite. You will never be. And if you'll be a billionaire and you would like to become president, since you're not a part of the elite, even if you got elected, they're going to make sure they're going to kick you out. They don't want that. That's what happened. We created a ruling elite. And when you created those societal steps and sects and castes and so on and so forth, you're basically causing a slow deterioration of society altogether. Bnei Israel going to the desert had to break away from everything Egyptian. The way Egypt was, the way the priest was, the way they ruled, the way they thought, the way they dressed, and now it makes sense what the Rambam is saying, that a lot of the commandments of the Torah that the Torah had told us was to break away from old Egyptians' habits that were in us. And the stubbornness, what was Bnei Israel stubborn about? They were stubborn about getting rid of those habits, Egyptian habits, and to re-identify themselves as Jews, free people, and not slaves. That's why they had to go in the desert. The fact that they had to go for 40 years was because it was so deeply rooted inside of them. They caused it. They could have gone for a year, they could have gone for 2 years, they could have gone whatever amount of time. But they had to go into they had to shed it off them. They could have done it in 6 months. So that is needed to do. Now you have to also look at yourself and understand that you cannot be free as an individual unless you're going to get rid of your own old habits, old ideas. If you are not going to go on your own journey, that will never happen. You have to go on a journey to explore. You have to go to places. You have to test yourself. You can't play it safe. You have to take risks. You have to have a vision. You have to be free. In order to be free, you got to do that. If not, you're dragging with you all the diseases of the old world that is being cast upon you, bestowed upon you, inherently implanted inside of you. You want to succeed. You want to make it big. You want to create opportunities for yourself. Think about your own journey. Unfortunately, most of us don't do that. Believe me, most of us want to be slaves. Most of us don't want to go on a trip. Most of us don't want to do it. We want to stay where we are, comfortable where we are. It's pathetic that some of you guys are 20 years old and already thinking about what they're going to do to go on retirement. And that's no good. In other words, you become slaves. You are slaves. Go on a journey. Have a vision. Create your own promised land. Dare. Get rid of everything. Undress yourself from all those bad habits and all crazy ideas that people put to you, whether they're societal, whether they're family oriented, whether they are, I don't care what. And don't tell me, well, in the old country we used to do that. The old country. We're born here in New York. What do you mean the old country? Oh, that's my grandparents used to. Get rid of this. Otherwise, you're never going to progress. You have to adapt yourself. You do that, you'll be free. You do that, you'll be successful. You're not, you're going to be a slave. Shabbat shalom.